I'm Sandy Powell. Welcome to the Round Table. I have on my couch today none other than Mr. Eddie Powell, an educator, and he's going to introduce himself and give you a little bit more details. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here. Again, my name is Eddie Powell, but I want to also mention that I'm Dr. Eddie Powell.
Go ahead.
Licensed in counseling psychology. But I'm so happy to be here, and thanks for welcoming me here.
Oh, you know
invited
what?
me here.
I am just ecstatic. I love the fact that what you represent, and I love the way you carry yourself, and I love what you are doing in our community. And I want to highlight some of it because I kind of know a little bit about you, but I think I want to know some more, and I think the community needs to know what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
so
good.
tell me, what's your main frame? What's your main?
Well, to talk about my main frame, I want to talk about some of my background first.
Okay.
Coming back from Columbus, I went to college and came back to Columbus, and I began to working as a juvenile probation officer with Muscogee County Consolidated Government.
Really? How long did you do that?
I've done that for from 1987 until 2000.
Wow.
Yes, so I worked with the juvenile court with course Judge Aaron Cone.
Yes.
And I did a spill with the Muscogee County prison out here on Chautauqua Road.
Wow.
So
you've been in behind the scenes.
Seen the scenes.
When it's going bad.
When it was bad.
When it was bad.
Exactly.
And so you decided that you needed to, get on the other side of this thing?
I think it more like when I was working with the inmates. Like I said, when I was at the prison, I worked with the inmates, and I mean, they came to me saying, and informed me, Ms. Powell, you're doing a great job. But when I get out, I'm still going to sell drugs.
Wow.
So at that time, my main concern is that, am I making a difference?
Right.
And the answer was no, I'm not making a difference. So I need to reach back. So to go back, I went and applied with Muscogee County School District, became a school counselor.
Wow.
And so I got into the school council in 2000.
And so from there you have...
And I continued to work as a counselor for 15 years in the high school. Then after 15 years in the high school, I was promoted to an assistant principal. And I started my term as assistant principal with Spencer High School.
Wow.
And so working with Spencer High School, there was a need.
Yes.
When I say a need, was a need for discipline, things being in order, things to show other students that, hey,
right.
There's a way, there's other things you can do besides what you're seeing because of the neighborhood we was in.
Exactly. And I'm also very familiar with South Columbus area and what happens in the South Columbus area. One of my children actually went to Spencer High. Well, actually two of them went to Spencer High. They didn't graduate from there. They actually were transferred to another school. But I am aware what happens down at Spencer High. And when you said you worked in the prison system and the juvenile system, you said you weren't making a difference there, and so you wanted to get to the front of this thing.
Exactly.
And by going into counseling into the schools, trying to deter them from these roads that they were taking to get to these places.
That's correct.
You felt like this is where you needed to put your energy.
And that's correct. And everything you said is true. And then, like I say, as your life goes, and what we call it, you travel through the stages of your life.
Right.
And then you reach a peak, and then, of course, you start descending. And then you want to look back on your life and say, did I make a difference?
Right.
So looking at working in the high school, from the high school, I went to the middle school.
Right.
And presently, I'm in the elementary school.
Tell me, what was your biggest battle when you worked in the high school with the kids? What was the big battle?
One of the biggest battle is, once you get to a point of being in the high school, you're so-called, and you develop. Your mindset has been developed.
Right.
And for it's really changing someone, it's more of you have to be like a role model.
Right.
They have to actually physically see you doing these things. In other words, practicing what you're preaching.
Right.
And
you can't pull out the textbook now and say, no, this is what it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
At this point, they had a made up mind, and now they need to see it in action.
Exactly. And so, that is the key point in the high school setting when you're dealing with our males.
Right. Exactly.
And then as you step down, when I worked in the middle school, it was a combination of both. They still developing, but they also, they have what we call a strong street knowledge.
Right.
So you're working with both, you work with the intelligent part, but you also work with the street part.
And when you you have the middle-aged kids or whatever that may have siblings that are in the high school, see, you're still having to deal with that pull on them in the middle school age that if you had an opportunity to sit and maybe deter them, they got to go home to what's already in place.
Exactly.
And that's a battle, isn't it?
It's a battle because, you know, you have to do the whole family. We call it a whole family. In other words, I can bring someone in, and I can counsel one-on-one, talk to them one-on-one, and probably get them in the right direction. But then they go back into the same environment.
That's right.
You know, now it's almost like a continuous cleansing. It's a continual cleansing. So it's not just one time, it's a continual thing. So, and having some patience to really work over and over.
I was going to say that because you can't get really frustrated at that point because you already know that there is just a recycling or the same. You got to go back, you got to dust them off again, you got to clean them up again, and then when you send them back, they got the right mind, but then they go home and things ain't in place. Right.
And you said a key word, cycling.
Yeah.
We have to break the cycle.
Yeah.
We as male have to break the cycle. And, you know, the key is that they say, how do you break this cycle? Well, you really have to start off. It might not be your own kids. It might be the next door neighbor, younger son.
Right.
It might be your nephew.
Right.
So we have to start breaking this cycle, letting the child know. When I say the child, I want to focus on the males right here.
That's right.
Let them know it's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay to cry.
Right.
It's okay, you know, to hurt.
Yeah. Why do we do that to our young men? Why do we give them the mindset that it's a weakness for them to show emotions or to show their feelings? Why do we do that?
That's a stereotype.
Yeah.
That's been created years ago. Of course, you know, if we came up through my father's age and other ages, you know, the way to get across was by the physical strength. If you want a job, you had to, you know, dig ditches.
Right.
And it based on physical strength. Nowadays, it's all electronic, computerized, so technology. So now it's the concept do not fit what's going on today.
Right.
So
you're saying we used to take hard work, more manual work. You know, you can't be soft, kind of like talking about digging a ditch.
Right.
But now that you can sit behind a computer or some type of electronic, it doesn't take all that hoo-hoo.
Exactly. You do your job from miles away. So, like I said, it's really about breaking this cycle. I mean, and you break the cycle by you talk to a young man.
Right.
You strongly inform him it's okay to cry.
Right.
Tell him what's wrong.
Right.
And let's talk about it. But it's always been mom in the past. Mom has always been the one that kissed the boo-boo. So it's okay for the father to kiss the boo-boo and let them know it's okay.
And I think that's where I want to talk about when we talk about the elementary school, because that's the level you're at right now.
That's correct.
And so you are really getting yourself ahead of the 8 ball now by being in this level.
Right. And when I say I work with the pre-K to the 5th grade. And if you really do your study and your research, this is what we call the developmental stage, where you're really defining the child.
Right.
You're really developing his brain, and so the things we do at this level is going to impact this child for life.
Right. I know one thing that I'm sure about.
What's that?
Our young black men need to see black men like you.
You have to actually put hands on.
Yes.
Charles Barkley made a couple of statements back in the past that I'm not a role model.
I heard him.
Yeah, and then Superman, things like that you can't really physically see, they want to actually physically put hands on.
Right.
And when they see me as a black male, successful black male, someone that's shirt and tie, that, you know, to take the stigma out there, only thing we're doing is washing dishes, dumping trash, those things that they see, but they actually need to see someone in those positions.
As a doctor.
As a doctor.
That's exactly right.
As a doctor.
And I think that's something that you show intelligence and strength. And sometimes they feel like they have to choose between the two.
No, you don't.
And you don't. You can be both. And sensitive.
And sensitive.
Because I saw you be sensitive one day. And so your presence, like my grandson, you have connection with him. He's on your basketball. We're going to talk about your basketball thing. But he's one of your teams that you have. And he knows you don't play. but he also knows that he can come to you.
That's correct.
And he made that comment to me. And
That's
so
correct.
being that he's a young black man, young guy, for me to see him confident enough to know that you handle the business,
Right.
but you also are someone that he can come to and feel safe.
And that's correct. And that's correct. And that's the mindset we want to have. You know, as an assistant principal,
Right.
and the first thing to come to anyone's mind is that, hey, this person is disciplinary.
Right.
If you go to Mr. Powell's office, you're in trouble.
Right.
I took that concept totally out.
Yeah.
You know, even starting my first job at Spence High School, and the way I do that is that I'm totally involved in everything that these young people do.
Right.
We mentioned the basketball team.
Right.
You know, and the key was that, can I try out? Would I make the team? No, everyone makes the team.
Oh, awesome.
I don't cut you. You cut yourself.
I remember that.
Well, how do I cut myself? Your attendance, your grades, your behavior in the classroom and in the hallways. So you cut yourself. I don't cut you.
That's right.
And so
I think when I saw them the other day, I was watching you practice with them, and you was hitting those jumpers one after another. You were Superman to them. They was like, whoa, whoa.
Exactly.
And so to me, when I watch them watch you, it does my heart good.
right.
And the actual institution that you're actually at right now was one that needed your presence.
Yes, I mean, and I agree. I mean, I've been blessed, and so when I say I've been blessed, I've been moved several times. But every place I went to needed me.
Right.
I mean, it was an open arm. I mean, welcome open arm, because the need was there.
Yes.
And not only myself, but they need more guys that they can actually see and put hands on.
Exactly.
And be those role models.
Exactly.
And we're role model whether we want to be one or not, because they're watching us.
They're watching you, so you might as
Yeah.
well be a good one.
You might well be a good one.
I would love to see more of our black men positive role models in the classrooms.
And that's a need.
And it's a dyer's need.
It's a dyer's need.
Because it is our young black men opportunity to see hope.
Exactly.
And that to me sometimes is missing, especially in some homes. Fortunately, our grandchildren don't have that, but there are some young men who don't go home to a strong black man.
Yeah. And that is in all walks of life, not
Yes.
just one particular area.
Right.
That's all walks of life.
Exactly.
And and we don't want to use that as an excuse. And so I use myself. I recruit other black males to come in to help. So the dynamics is there. And like I said, I think you mentioned before, it takes a village sometimes. So it takes someone from all walks of life to be able to have some kind of input in anyone's lives.
How have you been able to use your influence to, let's say, turn a situation around? Like this, something without name or anything, just how were you able to get in a situation and actually turn it around?
Well, again, I want to say practice what you preach. And sometimes you have to really, the concept and stereotype is that once you see a big black man, you expect some violence. That's just out there.
Why did we do that?
And so when a situation took place and they saw none of that, they didn't see any blows thrown. They didn't see any voice being raised. They didn't see any kind of cursing being said. So you really have to, and again, you have to really have to demonstrate. I can tell you when you're upset, do what you need to do.
Right.
And then when it happened to you, and I see you do this, so you really have to practice what you preach and then demonstrate. We are role models, and we're being watched.
Yes.
And I explained that to someone today, someone that watches you all the time.
Right.
Don't never think that you're not being watched.
You explaining this to a child?
Yeah, to another student.
To another student?
To another student. We were talking about integrity.
Right.
And then, integrity is great when, when everybody's around and you're doing the right thing.
Right.
But it really showed what kind of character you have when there's no one around.
Right.
Will you continue to do the right thing?
Right. Right.
So, and that was the focus.
How are you dealing with this bullying thing? I mean, because this is in not just one school, two school, not just Columbus. This is across the board. But how are you dealing with this bullying thing? And if we could stay with the male side of this, if we could.
Well, again, the bullying has to start. It's more of a prevention.
Right.
We do a lot of intervention. We want to do something when something happens. You got to do this. You got to do it up on the front end. You got to put the word on the front end.
Right.
You got to talk about it. You got to role play it. You got to demonstrate it. You got to make sure everyone aware of that this is bullying.
Right.
And even though I'm not one physically bullying you, but if you stand around watching and cheering, you just as big as bully the person doing it. So
that's exactly right.
we have to do it on the front end. That's one thing we push at the school.
Yes.
You know, we're talking about positive PBIS. So we want to talk about those positive things. So we want to do it on the front end.
Right.
Because by the time it get known, it's been going on for a while.
It's been going on a while, and the child is shrunken down. And,
exactly.
And it's hard to pull them back up sometimes. I know with the basketball team, and this is one of your one of many things I'm sure that you're doing in our community. Basketball. What else is that you're doing in the community that, as far as helping with the?
Well, I still work with juvenile court. We do a lot of program with them for as intervention, counseling intervention, parenting class, parenting skills. I continue to work with the corporate center, which is downtown on 12th Street.
Okay.
We do group counseling down there. We have several programs, anger management that goes on.
Now, is this for adults and children?
Adults
or
and children,
okay,
yes.
Okay, good stuff.
And most of the programs is in the summertime. So when school's out, so there's a place for them to go. It don't have to be someplace, and I call it a warehouse play, where you go in and just a lot of running and jumping going on. But this is something that continue on from extended care from school. There's an education program implanted. There's traveling for us, going to Atlanta, going to Whitewater. So those kind of things is part of the program. So it's more like an adventure program.
And is it like a all summer program?
It's all summer long, just for the summer.
Really?
Just for the summer.
Oh, and so I never, until you start talking about it, sometimes you don't know things.
Right, because, we don't talk about it because it closes out quickly. We only take but a small group of students. Small group. And then,
do you sometimes target some of our more needed children to?
Well, we work directly with defects, and so a lot of those students that might not have opportunity to go somewhere else, we work directly with them for us doing program with them.
Okay. I want to get back to the role model, black man to our black boys. I have seen it in the negative sense and in the positive sense. In the classroom, the lack thereof. Right. You, to me, as a black man, would relate a lot better to a little black boy. Okay. But for some reason in schools, I don't know why we are just drawn to women in place. Is it that men are not interested in being teachers, or is the system more geared to hiring females?
I think a little bit of both. I think we really got to, even myself coming out of high school, going into college, education was nowhere, in the bullseye. But being able, once I got, being recruited. I mean, there's a lot of program we're doing now for us trying to recruit more males into the classroom. Right. But and like I said, that's probably going to take a while. But it's a very high stressful job. Like I said, you got to be. I mean, it's got to be a job that's you're drawn to. You got to love kids. You got to love it. You got to love your job. And you got to have a heart to see them progress. Exactly. And want them to excel. And there's no instant gratification. There is not. We're not building a kill. We're not building a Ford that's going to take us one day. It's going to take us a lifetime. I have students that used to be my students years ago. Now I have their kids. Is that right? Oh, yes. And every school I go to, and they tell me, Ms. Powell, treat them the same way you treated me. And so that's a good thing. That says a lot about you. That's a good thing. I know that it's not instant gratification. Are there days that you just want to throw your hands in the air? I had one today. Speaking of that, right? Speaking of that, I had one today. But like I said, the power of prayer carry you through everything. So, and that's the key right there. You got to have God in the school. And you got to have God in you. Well, Mr. Powell, now you done opened up another can of worms. I got to open and dig in now, because I truly believe that. I think that we messed up somewhere when we got God out of the schools, when we made a separation between church and state. That's correct. And we need God. We do. And I think we see the deterioration of our schools and the children that are in the schools because of that. And that's correct. What do you see as the answer outside? Because I know get prayer back in school, right. But until that happens,
What do you see as the remedy?
Well, the remedy is that we're doing a lot of things that as the different congregation going out to, I mean, I call it door knocking. I call it, using our vans, things like that to pick up. Vocational Bible school, vacational Bible school, those things are very important. I mean, reaching out to the students, like I said, reaching out to the student, doing different activities.
In a private sector type way, you mean?
In a private sector, right. Because, there's still there's still separation when it comes to school for as the church coming into the school doing activities. So
because when they come into school, they can't really preach Jesus, can they?
They can't focus on that. You have to be, you can do donations. You can come in to help out with certain program that's already in place. Right. Before you come in and set up your own programs, that is not going to be something that can be acceptable.
Because then you have to kind of let all the other faiths in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes down to what you feel like would be the remedy, the church has got to get out into the community where the students are.
Right, that's
and
correct.
make a difference there so that when they come to school,
right.
that they are able to make a difference in the behaviors or whatever's going on.
Right, and just zeroing in on the things that they like. I know we as our age, we want to try to focus on things we like, but you got to really focus on what the students like.
I've seen that too.
So
get to a program and the only people having fun is telling people to turn more than tears.
Exactly. So we have to zero in, get the knowledge of what they're like, and then and bring those things to their liking.
You think you got the your finger on the heartbeat of the kids?
Yes, I really do. I truly do. I really love my job, and that's the key right there. I really love my job, and I work. I don't even count the hours because I really don't count the hours. But the thing about it is really seeing those students every morning. I got a thing that everybody give me a fist bump.
Is that right?
Yeah. So you'll see students jumping out the car screaming, "Mr. Powell," and they do the fist bump, and that's just saying, "Hey, we got the power to continue on. This is going to be a good day." Exactly.
I'm going to tell you this. Micah is he's ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very stand back. He really just kind of watches and stuff, and he doesn't really gravitate to adult people like that.
Exactly.
Especially your size. How tall are you, by the way?
6'5".
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yep.
And so for him to come home and have conversation about you, and even the little one, the attorney.
Right. Yes.
For them to come home, and if they are talking about an issue that happened, this is what they said. We can just go and talk to Mr. Powell. That said to me a world of things. It just said a lot. And so I don't know what other people are feeling about your presence there, but I think that your presence is making a tremendous difference.
I get a lot of good feedback. But like I said, and the thing about it is being visible.
Right.
I don't sit behind my desk. I get 10,000 plus steps per day.
Is that right?
Oh, yes.
I might need to walk with you then, because I don't think I'm getting two.
I don't know if you walk in those shoes. You gotta be some soft shoes. See what I have on.
I don't took my mic off.
But it's getting to the classroom, stopping into the classroom. Meeting the students at the door. Of course, you see me at the front every day.
Right.
Meeting them in the cafeteria, talking to them in the cafeteria. Just really watching them. And you can see the difference in their demeanor. Exactly. If you know something's going wrong.
Exactly.
And my thing is to get every student involved in something. And the goal is to make sure that we have enough clubs, not just basketball, clubs, basketball, cheerleading, that every student on that campus is involved in something. Because
do you have programs that are not there yet that you want to implement?
Oh, yes.
Like what are some of the things you want to implement?
Well, we want to have a program, like I said, simple thing. I say simple thing. We might have a teacher that loves chess.
Yes.
So we're going to start a chess club.
Oh.
We might have a teacher like to knit. Let's start a knitting club. So the key is that when they come in, I want a brochure. And when they flip to that brochure on the first day, they have to join something.
Something and be a part, because extracurriculum does create positive atmospheres and positive relationships with other kids.
And not only that, now instead of one teacher looking after 30 kids, when you have your little club, you might have 6 students.
Right.
So you're going to focus even more on those 6 students.
Oh, yeah.
What are their academic, what are their attendance? You're going to focus more on those 6 students, so those students will get some kind of attention.
Right.
And we drive for attention.
Right, exactly.
And we're going to get it either positive or negative.
Right.
So either mom going to say, "Hey, great job on your report card," sit down and be quiet. Guess what? I got some attention.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly right. Because some kids do do things just to get attention because they are deprived and needing that their hunger for somebody to pay attention to them, and so they do negative things. Are you able to recognize those children?
Oh yes, I mean that's why I mean you have to really go around and like I said, be very observant. And having the basketball program, you know, we opened up to almost 85 students.
Oh yeah.
So we got 85 students just from those programs alone, and then again, like I said, being in the cafeteria. Right. So our goal, like I said, working in juvenile court back in the early 90s, that you saw a lot of games being created, and again, where this coming from? Because they want to be needed.
Right.
They want to be a part of something.
Right.
You know,
and unfortunately, those gang members have recruited, and now some of those gangs that started back then, they're alive and well, and the children of these persons, and so we're having to deal with them today.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I applaud you for what you're doing in the community,
right.
The activities that you're trying to put together, and I want to say that if there's anything that we can do to help it, we want to be a part of it. And we do things all the time. We do activities. As a matter of fact, we got an upcoming event that we'll be doing to allow people to come and have like ride bikes throughout the community. Because you know we don't like to ride bikes. We'll push that Cadillac.
Yeah.
Would you ride a bike, Mr. Powell?
I have two bikes.
Would you come and ride a bike?
I have two bikes. They're in storage, but I have two bikes though. Yeah.
Well, maybe you can come and ride with us on Ride Columbus one day.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Give me something that you need to make your job easier that the community can do. Give me two. Give me two things.
Give me two things. One thing I would like to see as a community for. Now I'm just going to focus on my particular school.
Right.
I mean, I've seen it across the country.
Right.
But I like to see our kids walk through a line of adults. Just walk through and high five, fist bumps.
You mean like at the first day of school?
First day of the school, something like the first day of school, something like that. I like to see that happen. I mean, really to have our kids either walk off the stage and we cheer them on as they go across it. Just really encourage them to get started, have a great start of the school year. So that's one thing I want to see happen.
Wow, that can happen because I think.
Oh yeah, I've seen it happen. So it's just one of the things I want to do. Other schools have done it, but I want to happen at our school too.
Oh yeah, and I think it can happen.
Oh yes.
I think we have, because I've seen parents, the participation. Right. It's really good there.
Yeah, partners in education, so all the guys come out.
So I think if you would ask for it, you could get it.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, and I would be there.
Okay.
High fiving and cheering them on. I'm very big in supporting.
Right.
I do have a pretty busy schedule, but never that busy that I can't be a lending hand to those educators, those who have our children in their best interests at heart.
Okay.
So
I got a program I want to shout out to. So,
shout it out.
Okay, we have a program we just created. It called All Pro Dads, and I did it last month for the first time. And our All Pro Dads, they'll bring in their students, and they'll just bring them in and just say something positive about that student. And so we might have like 20 people in the crowd, and each father will bring that student up to the front and say, hey, this is my son, just say Joey. Yeah. Joey did an excellent job on his classes last week. Right. And I just want to make sure we acknowledge that.
Wow.
And each father will come across and bring their child across. And it don't have to be a father, it could be an uncle, it could be a granddad. So we have a positive male role model that come by and introduce their child and tell us something good about that child.
So when does this happen? We
do it once a month. So we'll do it for this coming Friday, the 26th.
The 26th.
It's be the next one.
And the one after that will be?
It's the last Friday every month.
Okay, last Friday every month.
But since it'll be the last Friday, so we have Thanksgiving. Then after Thanksgiving, we have that last Friday. Exactly. So I do it the last Friday in every month.
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing. Right. And anytime that you can pat a kid on the back and tell them they're going to be okay.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I think it's just building blocks for higher heights.
Exactly.
And so I applaud you. I shake your hand and say thank you for your impartation into our young men and into our community. Right. And I'm glad God created you.
Well, he created me, and I also want to give a shout out to my principal, Miss Myrie.
Yeah, Miss Myrie.
It wasn't for her saying, hey, bring that young man on over. a lot of this thing couldn't take
Couldn't
place.
take place.
Exactly.
Well, we're gonna thank her as well. Thank you, Miss Miley, for bringing on Mr. Powell and his energy and his tenacity and his excitement about what he does. I want to encourage everyone to be a part of your school or local schools, what's happening there, and to encourage our young black men to be involved. You may not even have a child, but if you can find the time to maybe be a big brother to someone who may need that, it would be a great difference in that child's life. And so I want to say to all of you, applause and congratulations to everyone who's doing anything with our young black men. And to Mr. Powell, continue.
Hey.
And we'll see you on the next school day.
That's tomorrow.
Meet us back here again next week on the round table. And
World Changes Tabernacle, led by Prophet Prathan Powell, is a word-based church committed to seeing you win. We're called to create a loving and caring community for all people and work together for justice and peace in our world. Recognizing that our spiritual journeys are all different, we strive to be respectful and inclusive concerning each individual's relationship with God. We believe that Christianity is a lifestyle, and we're committed to teaching, learning, and living the Word of God. It's more than a song, more than a shout, more than a dance. Whether you're a committed follower of Christ or just curious about God, you are invited to visit with us. Give us a call or check out our website for more information or to see our sermon times.